Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm going to talk about what I like to call panel cards, and basically these are cards that have just been built up with panels of paper card. You can see I've got a little ribbon here and a greeting, and then inside. So I'm going to share both of these cards with you. And these are inspired by this sheet of paper. Now this is from the Peaceful Place Specialty Designer Series paper, and you can see it hopefully that we've got some lovely silver foil on there and all sorts. Now it comes and there's like 4 panels on this 12 by 12 sheet. Now, ordinarily I'd think, oh, I'm going to cut this into 4 and that will give me 4 card fronts. And if I was still living in the UK, I would probably do that because there's no additional cost with mailing cards, large cards or square cards in the UK. Whereas here in the US, they do charge extra for odd shaped cards. So I thought, well, what am I going to do with this delicious piece of paper? And so I put my thinking cap on, and this is what I've come up with. So I started by cutting it into 4 pieces. And so I'm left with this here. And I'm going to pull out my trimmer now. And I'm just going to slide it in until my cutting groove, which is this bit here, is sort of lined up with the bottom of my tree here, and making sure it doesn't sort of cut this bit of my tree off there. So I'm going to have to sacrifice a little bit of my tree here just to make sure that it doesn't start cutting in. And that's, well, let me see. I don't quite know what that is size-wise. Let's see. It's just a fraction over 2 inches, that strip. So there's my first piece. And then I'm going to be cutting the top and the bottom off of this piece to give myself the trees. So again, I'm going to slide it in and just make sure that I get a little bit of the white at the bottom. Probably about 1/4 of an inch maybe. So I'm going to cut that piece off and set that to one side. And then I'm just going to flip it round and I'm going to see where that piece comes. So that's like 3 inches. Okay, so maybe I'm going to pull that down to 2 7/8. Very easy to see. Just show you there. There's the 2 7/8 mark there. And I'm just going to slice that off. Right. So I've got my pieces now, and this piece is now 6 inches. Well, my card front is 5 1/2. So I need to slice a piece off, and my layer is going to be 5 1/4. So I'm going to slice off 1 inch, which will I'll end up with a 5-inch piece. All right. So now I'm going to build my layers. Now on this one, I cut my piece of cherry cobbler card. I cut it about, 1/4 of an inch all round bigger, which gives me 1/8 of an inch gap. So I've got my scrap piece of card here. So if this is 5, I'm going to be cutting this at 5 1/4. I have a feeling this is probably 5 1/4. As luck would have it, it is. And this piece is, I said, just a fraction over 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to cut it back down so that it is actually 2 inches. Okay, and so I can cut this at 2 1/4. Okay, so that's that part of my card. So my card base is Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to attach this piece of paper onto it and just center it up. Yep, I think that looking pretty center. Gently smooth it down so it doesn't slide. And then I'm going to just add my Stampin' Dimensionals onto the back. So one on each corner and one on the middle. Or two in the middle for this one, because it is a long piece of card and it just stops it sagging. And I'm going to pop it over on the left-hand side of my card. All right, so if we look at the original, you can see. Now, with my greeting, I've chosen Holly Jolly Wishes, and I've chosen, let's see, which one did I choose? Oh, Be of Good Cheer. That's the one I chose. And I'm using Cherry Cobbler ink. I could just as easily use the Evening Evergreen, but I did choose the Cherry Cobbler. Now, I already pre-stamped this, but my piece of white, I just cut it, I stamped it, it's 1 inch wide, and I just stamped it and then I just trimmed it off. And so this is like 2 1/4 by 1 inch. Since I've got a 1/4 inch bigger, or 1/8 of an inch all the way around bigger on here, I'm going to stay with the same proportions. And so this piece here is 2 1/2, which is 1/4 of an inch bigger, by 1 1/4. And I'm going to just layer it there, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh, right, okay. And I'm just going to put a dimensional on the back of the right hand side, because I'm going to layer this like that. I don't want to put a dimensional on this side, because then it'll kind of be cattywampus, as it were. So I'm just going to use a glue dot on that side. Okay, I've just popped one on the back, and I'm going to put it where it's not going to interfere too much. But what I want to do is make sure that my margin here is roughly the same on the other side. Just looks more balanced to me. Oh, it helps if you take the backing off the dimensional as well. And then a couple of finishing touches is that I've got a bow that I made, and I've chosen to use the Evening Evergreen open weave ribbon. It's really pretty and ties beautiful bows. So I'm going to pop one, and I'm going to pop it down here. And then my final flourish is the Wonderful Gems. And I'm just going to take one of the red ones. I did look at the other, the sort of the white ones, but they've got gold in them. And this has got silver foil. So I decided that I would stick with the red. Although it has got a little bit of gold in it, it doesn't look quite so obvious. And we're just going to pop it up there. Okay, so that's how I've taken a piece of designer series paper, and I've shown you how to layer and cut your layers to create your card. Now, I've still got my other pieces. Now, this time I'm going to show you how, or I'm going to do this one so that it's got a finer margin. And so basically I've cut this 1/8 of an inch wider all round, which gives me a 1/16 border. It's a little bit harder to cut, but if you're using the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, then all the marks are there. So this piece hasn't really got much on it, but if I flip it over, I really like these sort of trees, a sort of a ghosty sort of tree effect. So I'm going to get my card base again, and this piece is going to go here. And so I'm not going to put a layer on it. I am just going to put it flat on my card. Now you can do this with any decorative paper. You don't have to have one that is, you know, got particular sort of this particular pattern. You can use it with, do it with anything, and simply pull out a color that's in your designer series paper, or maybe you can find a neutral that works well. You can see this hasn't got any color in it as such. It's sort of gray and white with silver. So I was able really to just pick a couple of colors that really appealed to me. So I'm going to come back in with my trimmer. Now then, I had a piece of red cherry cobbler. I can't lose a whole sheet of red cherry cobbler. What the heck did I do with it? Well, maybe this will work. Yes, there we go. We're good. Okay, so this one, as I said, I'm going to be doing a 1/8 inch border all round. So I'm going to go and measure my piece of paper, and I can see that this is 4 inches, right? I think I am going to take a tiny no, it's not 4 inches. It's a little bit under that. I am going to take that back to 3 7/8, and then wide it's going to be 2 7/8, and I'm just going to trim a little bit off of that. In fact, it didn't really need to be. So my is 3 7/8 times 2 7/8. So if I'm cutting it 1/8 bigger, that makes it real easy. It means that I can cut 4 by 3 and my piece is perfect. There you go. So I'm just going to use some of my liquid glue. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I love my liquid adhesive, but I particularly love it when I'm doing these cards that have got really narrow borders, because it allows you, if you just use your thumbs, it allows you to just sort of shimmy it around until it's in the right place. So then I'm going to bring my card back in. This piece is going to go here, and again I'm going to lay it up with dimensionals. There we go. Oh, right, looks like I've nearly finished these ones, but you do know that you can use your borders here because they're just as sticky as the actual dimensionals. Oh, I've still got a couple left, but let's use those. Again, one on each corner and then a piece in the middle. There we go. And again, I'm going to look to see my border here and make sure that I kind of balance it out over here. There we go. There's my piece if you see the original. Now for my greeting, I've done it slightly smaller. And this time, it's still 1 inch wide because that's basically the width of the stamp. Yeah, so it's 1 inch wide and it's 1 7/8 inch long. And so my piece of cherry cobbler is 1 1/8 by 2. And once again, I'm going to put a Stampin' Dimensional on one end, and this time I'm going to be putting it on the back of the left hand side, and I'm going to be putting my glue dot on this side. Just gonna, did I take the backing off? No. And I'm going to be placing that there like that. And then just as a final flourish, I'm going to pop in my lovely, wonderful gem. Now, if I was going really crazy, I could possibly put one on each of my Christmas trees, but I'm not going to go that way, not today. And I have my bow. Now, I have a video on how I tie my bows, and so I'll link that underneath my this video. Now, you don't have to remember the measurements. I will put under this video a link to my blog post where I will give you the information on how I did cut my pieces and my dimensionals. But I just wanted to share with you how you can create what as I said, I like to call panel cards. And as you can see, we've got 4 cards, and we've basically used half a sheet of paper. And so I can get another 4 cards. So I can actually, at the end, get 8 cards out of that sheet of paper. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this particular video where I've shared with you my panel card technique. I've certainly enjoyed sharing it with you. If you've enjoyed it, perhaps you'll go up and give me a thumbs up. And if you don't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate your time today. Bye for now.